Good morning. Welcome to First Parish in Framingham. I'm Leslie Simpson, a member of the Board of Assessors, and I will be your worship associate this morning. First Parish in Framingham is a welcoming congregation. We celebrate and welcome people of all sexual orientations, races, ages, gender identities, abilities, or beliefs. We welcome you if you are joining us in the meeting house on Zoom, or if you are watching this service after the fact. Whoever you are, whoever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religion that honors wisdom from many sources. We keep our minds open to the religious questions people have struggled with in all times and places. I draw your attention to the announcements in the order of service. For the safety and comfort of all, please remember to keep your mask on at all times when you are inside a First Parish building, unless you're actively eating or drinking. Please also turn your phones and other devices that might make noise to their quietest setting. Finally, I want to tell you something. Since 1701, people have gathered as this community, seeking peace and seeking meaning. Those people are like you. You belong here, maybe only for the next hour, but we hope for longer. You belong here, and we are happy to have you with us.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Jan Miller, co-chair of your Board of Assessors, along with Heather Cilio. This morning, we're going to explore our unique gifts. The New England region of our Unitarian Universalist Association offers several programs that provide development opportunities to church leaders and parishioners. This fall, First Parish hosted a 3-part program entitled Claiming Your Spiritual Leadership, and 9 of our members and staff participated. The program was run in 3 sessions on Sunday afternoons with members from UU churches from around New England joining us. The topics included centering in gifts, doing inner work, tending our traditions, covenanting, and faithful risking. In the first session on discovering our gifts, we were invited to consider sharing the concepts and practices with our church communities, and we are here this morning to do just that. A question that was posed to us in the training was, what if we thought differently about how we do church? For example, moving from what work needs to get done at church to what gifts do parishioners have to offer that could strengthen our community? It's not to say that we can forego the critical aspects of running the church, but that we need to evolve our mindset to include the myriad ways in which individuals can contribute and engage to expand the possibilities of how we create our church community. We are working to support deeper connections, individual growth, and sustaining and maintaining this beloved community. We see this as spiritual work, focusing on gifts rather than on skills or talents that can help us to strengthen our beloved community. In his book, The Healing Wisdom of Africa, Malidoma Somé writes, whether they are raised in indigenous or modern culture, there are 2 things that people crave: the full realization of their innate gifts, and to have these gifts approved, acknowledged, and confirmed. There are countless people in the West whose efforts are sadly wasted because they have no means of expressing their unique genius. In the psyches of such people, there is an inner power and authority that fails to shine because the world around them is blind to it. If this is true, as Somé suggests, we cannot promote and affirm the inherent worth and dignity of anyone unless we are able to acknowledge and receive their gifts. The community needs us to deliver our gifts so it can be vibrant and strong. And we need the community to help us identify our gifts, show us where those gifts are needed, and to receive our gifts. So what exactly do we mean when we say gifts? I loved this quote from the training. Gifts are something that you can't not do. Think about that. Gifts are something that you can't not do. Gifts are ways of being that just shine from you and that you find deeply satisfying. Some examples might be the gift of making spaces and things beautiful, the gift of listening, the gift of organizing, whether clothes, ideas, or computer cords, the gift of synthesizing ideas clearly, the gift of storytelling in a way that makes you feel like you were there. True gifts can require effort or hard work, but they won't drain you of energy, as gifts are ultimately joyful. I now invite you to take a deep breath in and out, to settle into this space. Begin to let go of what you need to let go of to be more fully present to yourself, to one another, and the sacred in this time and place. We look forward to exploring how we can uncover and share our unique gifts during this sacred hour together.
A flame within a chalice is a primary symbol of the Unitarian Universalist faith tradition. To symbolize the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the fire and the flame of hope, it's a fire as well. It is our tradition to begin our worship by kindling the flame of our chalice. These words were written by Starhawk, and it is entitled Community Means Strength. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned. We can only catch glimpses of it from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us, eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter, a circle of healing, a circle of friends, someplace where we can be free. We are in this season of waiting and anticipation known as Advent. It is a tradition in many of our Unitarian Universalist congregations and our Christian siblings congregations to light an Advent wreath. Last week, the first week rather, we lit a candle for hope. The following week, we lit a candle for peace. Today, we light this candle for messengers, preparing the way for change, signs pointing to a new age to come. Will you all say it with me? Give light, give hope. Give light, give hope. I now invite you to rise in body or spirit. Both of those work just fine to sing our first hymn, a good hymn for this season, number 16, "'Tis a Gift to be Simple," And please remain standing after to sing our sung and say our spoken affirmations. Love is the doctrine of this church, quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve all life with compassion, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God. You may be seated.
This is a Zen story about a gardener tending her garden. She approaches her garden and is shocked to see so many of her trees and shrubs and flowers wilted and dying. She sees the grapes shriveled on the vine. She asks the grapes, "Dear grapes, what's wrong?"
I wish I could blossom like a rose.
The gardener looks around and sees that the rose is dried up and dying. The gardener asks the rose, "Lovely rose, what's wrong?"
I feel terrible because I can't grow tall like an oak tree.
The gardener nervously looks around, looks over at the oak tree, and notices that the leaves are turning brown. "Oh, mighty oak tree, what's happening here?"
I can't be tall like the pine.
The gardener becomes more upset with her wilted and dying garden. Now she notices that the pine is drooping. "Tall pine, why are you so droopy?"
I can't bear delicious fruit like the vine.
Okay, grab it. The gardener looks around and notices that the only plant that's thriving in the garden is heartsease, the wild pansy. She asks the beautiful pansy, "How come you're so radiant?"
I took it for granted that when you planted me, you wanted heartsease. If you had desired an oak, a vine, or a rose, you would have planted them. I thought that since you put me here, I should do the best I can to be what you want. I can be nothing but what I am, and I am trying to be the best wild pansy that I can be.
And the wild pansy was indeed thriving. Heartsease is a tiny flower that lives very close to the earth. It can be easily overlooked, sometimes even stepped on, yet it is gloriously beautiful. Our work in covenanted communities is to receive and celebrate the beauty and uniqueness of in each other. Nobody else has ever been like you, and nobody else will ever be like you. You are simply unique, incomparable. Each person is to be celebrated for who he or she is, just like the beautiful wild pansy.
We will now sing our children, teachers, and me. I'm going off to religious exploration as well, with the words printed in your order of worship.
Good morning. I am Elizabeth Murphy, your ministerial intern. In our community, there is great joy and there is also great sorrow. We set aside this time because we know that joy shared is joy expanded, and sorrow shared can feel as though someone is lifting a burden. Remember that you can write your own joys or sorrows in the book at the back of the sanctuary or submit them online every week. And we have a lot this morning. We light our first candle in memory of First Parish member Shirley Cabler, who died on November 28th. Shirley first joined the congregation in 1999. Tom shares, "I'm thinking of an old friend who lost her mother this week to cancer. Please send out healing thoughts of love and compassion to her." A member of the church who wishes to maintain some privacy shares this sorrow. "I learned my youngest sister has systemic fibrosis, a fatal disease with no cure." Richard and Pat write, "We've just learned that our dog Lexi has an expected 3 months or so to live." Pam writes, "My sorrow is that, according to the New York Times this week, 300 more Americans die of COVID every day, and 90% of those deaths are now among senior citizens, despite high vaccination rates." And now, let's take a moment and sing verse 1 of Comfort Me. That's hymn 1002. Tina shares with both joy and some sadness. Our member, volunteer, and friend Ellen moved this week to New Jersey to be closer to family. Denise writes, "Thank you to my church family for the many condolences, prayers, kind words, cards, and emails of love and support that you have shared with me since my father's death. He loved his church home, serving as head of the deacon board for many years, being part of church committees and visiting people who could no longer attend church. He would so appreciate the way you have reached out to me. Ben shares the joy of his sister, who's coming home from Kentucky today for Christmas. Dave and Debbie share this joy. We found our cat Bootsy after he was missing for 3 days. Grateful to the person who found him and gave him a flea bath. Dave also shares, you know you live too close to work when your cat visits the store twice in a week, and they're talking about having him become the store mascot. And with that, we will join in singing verse 2 of Comfort Me. Sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. We light one final candle for all of the joys and sorrows which remain unspoken but held deeply in our hearts. And now together we'll sing verse 3 of Comfort Me. Let us now settle into some time for prayerful contemplation. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, divine spark who dwells deep within us all. We feel your presence as we absorb the many joys and sorrows shared by members of this community here this morning. During this hectic season, we appreciate these rare moments of stillness when we can attune ourselves to the struggles, triumphs, and trepidation felt within and around us all the time. We are grateful for the gifts of this community. May we find courage to speak our own truths and to learn from one another's. May we listen deeply to our inner voices as we discern our special, unique gifts. May we feel love reflected in our differences and recognize that the diversity of our beliefs, interests, backgrounds, and gifts is our treasure to behold. And also, we hold space for discomfort. This season, like all, is not beloved by all. We pray for grace and rest for the weary, connection for the lonely, and true, lasting nourishment for all bodies and all souls. May we seek the crisp, fresh air, awakening our spirits and restoring our health. We pray together for healing, for inner peace, our own private miracles, and acceptance of realities. Most of all, this morning we seek divine guidance in our quest to embody, spread, or just receive some joy. May our deep love for ourselves and for one another inspire us to embrace our own special gifts. And may we each brighten the world with the joy our gifts bring forth. I say these words and do all things for love's sake. Amen. We'll continue with our quiet contemplation for 1 minute. Whether you use this time for prayer, meditation, or just a little silence, may you feel the love of this community from wherever you are. Amen. This morning is a Share the Plate Sunday, and I now invite Jen Long to come up and give us some more information.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jen. I know a lot of you. I haven't been here in a while, but I'm here to tell you a little bit about Under the Same Moon. And many of you may know this program. Rebecca Center started this nonprofit, and Under the Same Moon is the US-based fundraising arm for a school in Guatemala, in a little village called Alatenango. And the school serves the poorest of the poor kids. These are kids who can't afford to go to public school. Most of them live in bamboo huts with dirt floors. Rebecca started out raising money to buy all of the families in the village a stove, so they didn't have to cook over an open fire, and that mission accomplished. Now the school serves about 600 children, K through 8. And we're starting to, I'm on the board. I'm the newest board member, so I get to ask for money. That's my job now. But now the school has their first groups of 8th graders graduating and going on to vocational school. And my daughter, Julia, who many of you know, spent 4 months in Guatemala between high school and college, co-teaching in the 2nd grade, and it completely changed her life. But what's happened is these kids, speaking of gifts, the man who runs the school, Julio, is wonderful at taking these kids who have nothing and really getting them to dream about what's possible, getting them to see what's possible. And these children who are now going on to vocational school are not just lifting themselves out of poverty, it's their whole family. So it's the difference between, working, picking coffee beans, making $2 a day, and maybe working in hospitality or being an electrician and being able to literally bring electricity to your household and raise your entire family's standard of living. And so I support this charity. It's a 100% volunteer organization. Every penny goes directly to the school. And just a little bit of money makes such a difference. So the $1,200 that I spent on my daughter's textbooks last semester pays for an entire year of schooling for vocational school. That's transportation, books, food, tuition, the whole thing. $300 pays for an entire year of education for an elementary school student. So the money that you give goes directly to these kids and these families, and a little bit for us goes such a long way for them. So I encourage you to give generously. And if you're interested in sponsoring a child or visiting the program, catch me at coffee hour. I'd love to talk to you about it. Thank you.
Morning. I'm Sarah Morrison Neal. Our reading today is an excerpt from Remembering Our Gifts by Ren Bellavance Grace. Ren is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association's New England Regional Staff Team and a co-leader of the sessions we attended this fall. She writes, "Our team spent all of 2019 trying to faithfully engage the practice of centering in gifts in our shared work. At the staff meeting closest to our birthdays that year, our teammates came prepared to name our gifts and reflect them back to us. I flipped through a couple of old notebooks until I found the one with my notes from our June 2019 staff meeting, the one in which my colleagues focused their attention on naming the gifts they saw in me. I lit my home chalice and reread the words I heard that day. Courage, humility, a tender of heart stories, willing to say and do hard things even though they come at a cost. I don't share these things to boast. Because of our practices, I believe the greater sin would be to forget that I have gifts, and you do too, that the world needs. I share them because I remember now that understanding and claiming my own gifts helps me to know what is mine to do. I share this because it reminds me of the role, and indeed the unique responsibility of our spiritual communities to do what Malidoma Somé reminds us that every person craves. Our congregations and communities of faith are the places where our gifts can be named, affirmed, and received. They are the places we can return to when we forget that we are needed, even now when so much is hard. Our spiritual homes are where we are given the privilege of naming the spiritual gifts we see in each other and reminding ourselves to remember our own collective power.
A gift is something that makes you you. It's an inherent part of who you are. Some people say one of my gifts is the ability to walk up to a stranger and start a conversation. In coffee hour, I watch for unfamiliar faces and approach with my name and a smile. I move from group to group. I've heard many say they find coffee hour intimidating. Not for me. I've never been a member of the choir, but I know people whose gift is music. Performing in the choir for them is what talking to people is for me. We become richer for our experience, and First Parish becomes richer because we shared our gifts. When I was on the nominating committee, we asked who was qualified for this job, and that's still a good question. But looking at it from a gifts rather than a skills profession, the question becomes, who would most be fulfilled by this job? Whose gifts makes this job the perfect gift for them? In business, we want someone who can do the job. Less important is that we like each other, or even that we find our work meaningful. In church, it's more. It's inspiration, friendship, and mutual support. Your gift in feeling your church community values you for the things that you are, makes you unique. That is what the vision of gifts over skills is. We still need people who know how to use a spreadsheet. But if your gift is growing a flower, then First Parish needs a flower garden.
While I participated in the workshop Claiming Our Spiritual Leadership, I admit that I found some of the concepts confusing. I understood that spiritual leadership is available to everyone and that all of us indeed have gifts. But I find the distinction between what is a gift and what is a skill to be unclear. As I think about this concept of innate gifts, I'm beginning to feel okay about the lack of clarity between gifts and skills. In the workshop, I learned that it's important to show up for the world that I think is possible and to be in community in the process. We need to find the place of our own power, our own gifts, and then use them in community. So how do I do that? I thought about what others say about me. I also thought about what I love doing, what brings me joy, what do I feel good about. It's a bit unnerving to do this without feeling like I'm bragging to myself or to you, but I'll share anyway. Since I was a young child, I've loved being active outside in nature, playing, walking, hiking, gardening, nurturing along those little seedlings into a bountiful garden or beautiful flowers. I find being in nature to be nourishing to my heart and soul. I see myself as a protector of the earth. I've always been quite a social being. I enjoy learning about people's lives and getting to know them. Family is front and center for me, both my family of origin and the family my husband and I created. I loved bringing up our children, and I'm happiest when I'm with family members. I've been told that I'm a good friend. I enjoy sharing my friends' joys and supporting them through their sorrows. I'm caring and I'm a good listener, both of which are important aspects of friendship and being in the world. I care deeply that people are treated fairly, also an important way of being in the world. I thought about my professional life as a dance movement therapist and then a religious educator. Although I wasn't specifically a teacher, I realized that in both these professions, I engaged in teaching. Even in retirement, I'm teaching yoga. I welcome the challenge of figuring out ways to adapt poses so that all people can feel good about doing yoga and feel good about themselves. I love helping people feel a little less stressed in this too busy world. And laughter. I have a good sense of humor and I love to laugh with people. So, what are my gifts? I enjoy people and creating a loving space for family. I'm a good friend. I enjoy teaching. I have a good sense of humor. I'm caring. I communicate my love for life. I care deeply for our earth. Are these innate gifts or skills or merely interests? I'm still figuring that piece out. I will say that I resonate with the little wild pansy that was happy to be who she was in the story that Susan and I shared. That pansy strived to be the very best pansy she could be. In our yard, we have loads of those wild pansies in the spring, carpeting the lawn with blues and, purples and lavenders amongst the grass and weeds. They are little but strong. I too am little but strong. Like the pansy, I hope that I can be the best that I can be, sharing my gifts and strive to make the world a better place.
One of the family stories that I grew up hearing was about my great-grandparents. I was told they met on the Brooklyn Bridge when they were teenagers on a lunch break. She was a telephone operator, and he played a piano in the old Nickelodeon theaters and at nightclubs. He could hear music and replicate it. He didn't know how to sight read, but he could play anything from memory. That was his gift. When the two teenagers decided to get married, my great-grandmother's mother was livid about this musician and insisted that he get a real job. As a woman whose husband had left her, she was determined her daughter have a steady, reliable husband, not someone on tour and late out all night. So he went to community college, he got a CPA, and they got married. But when he made enough money, he bought a piano, and they always had one at home. He used his gift for music to support his local temple, throwing parties as fundraisers with the men's group. You may have family stories like this, but while they were limited by social expectations or family finances, they found a way to do the thing they loved and made them feel alive. I grew up wondering if I too would magically be able to do something like he did. I sat at a piano and expected music to just flow from my fingers. I tried sports to see if I was amazing at that. No. Since learning about centering and gifts, I have thought more about what gifts are innately mine. When I tried to figure out what are the things I can't not do, I started by thinking about how I spent time as a child. I read voraciously. I wrote stories. I got kids in the neighborhood to act out stories. By high school, I learned that I was able to read faster than most people and have a high comprehension rate. Maybe that's a gift. And I was painfully aware of injustice and unfairness and always yearned to make things right. I ended up leaning on my ability to read and synthesize information for work, and I chose mission-based employers. So when I talked to some people closest to me to see if they had other ideas about what my gifts are, my mother says she thinks I have a great deal of patience and the ability to be non-judgmental. My husband notices my keen sense of words, but hates the puns that go along with that. Different people may notice different gifts. I wonder what other people might think my gifts are. And now we're going to offer you a moment to begin reflecting upon your own gifts. You may have noticed on the back side of your order of service, there's a star or two. Thank you, Ben. You may use the reflection questions on the insert. It's on the back side of the blue sheet, the order of service, to get you started if you need some prompts. If you would like to jot down any gifts on a star, you're welcome to do so. You can share them or keep them to yourself. If you need more time to just sit with this concept, that's wonderful too. And if you are joining us through Zoom, If you have something you want to share, you can write it in the chat and we will transcribe it for you. We're going to take just a few minutes. Dean is going to provide us with some reflective music while you start thinking. Thank you. Just about another 30 seconds. Go ahead. Lovely music. Thank you, Dean. Okay. We now invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, number 6, Just as Long as I Have Breath.
Thank you all for joining us this morning. Your presence is a gift. On behalf of Reverend Aaron, I extend gratitude to our volunteers and staff who designed and co-led today's worship. Jan Miller, Leslie Simpson, Greg Wells, Julie Porter, Susan Moody, Sarah Morrison-Neal, and Dean Arvidsson. Thanks to Tom Ostfeld, our tech operator, our choir members, as well as Andre Lamontagne and Carol Lawton, our ushers today. If you wrote anything down on those stars, you are welcome to keep them or share them by sticking them to our growing collection on the board on the way out. Someone will be standing at the exit to help you with that. And now we extinguish our chalice. Until we're together again, may you hold the light always, and may the light of this community hold you always. It's a two-handed job there. We close our worship together with this poem by Marta I. Valentin called In Gatherings. In gatherings, we are stirred like the leaves of the fall season rustling around sacred trees, tossed hither and yon until we come to rest together, quietly, softly. We come to gather strength from each other. We come to give strength to each other. We come to ask for strength from the Spirit of all that is and is not. When our hearts sing or when they frown, it is the way of compassion telling us to give. It is the way of peace telling us to share our gifts, for we are happiest and most powerful when love is made apparent in and through us. Spirit of the circle that is love, as we twirl in this dance that is life, we give thanks for reminding us each day of our task of ministering to each other with a searching glance, a safe touch, a generous smile, a thoughtful word. Thank you for reminding us that we are always building our beloved comunidad. Thank you for reminding us that through our covenant with you, we covenant with each other and are made whole. In gratitude, we celebrate with open hearts and minds. We discover who we are, separate from each other and within one another. In this circle that holds all life, may we ever work toward widening its boundaries until there are none. Amen. Pause and blessed be.